to Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. I'm your host, Sana. And for today's episode, we are diving into a very, very powerful approach. But before I uh, go further, I would like to say something to all of you. Now, you know, sometimes we chase health like it's a finish line, like sprinting, pushing, burning out, only to start over again and again and again. But what if sustainable health isn't about hitting that perfect goal? It's about creating a rhythm you can live with for life. What if the secret is not in the highs or the lows, but in the space between, where momentum never truly stops? Now, we're going to dive deep into a very powerful approach to health, which is called the floor and ceiling method. Now, it's not about perfection, listeners. It's about knowing your floor, the minimum you can do even on the hardest days. And then your ceiling, the high, the peak you can reach without burning out. And my guest knows this better than the most. From being a young sports prodigy to losing himself in unhealthy habits, from rebuilding his life through weight loss, cars, and coaching, to creating a business that helps people start and never stop living healthily. His journey is a proof that consistency beats intensity every time. So let's explore how to make health a lifestyle that sticks, and why the best plan is the one you'll actually keep doing forever. And listeners, meet my incredible guest, Jack Sorenson. Jack, welcome to the show, and I'm really, really pumped up for this conversation.
Thank you so much. What an intro. Unbelievable. Thank you so much for that. Really, really powerful. You had me sucked in right there. I won't lie. You had me good. It's great.
It's a very these terms we generally use in the business conversations.
Mhm,
Very simple, the high and low, floor and ceiling. And I'm really, really curious to explore what exactly it is. But before that, let's try to understand the core, Jack, here. Um, in your words, if you can explain the floor and ceiling method, I mean, how does it keep people from burning out or quitting?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, loaded question. Loaded question. You did a really good job actually at describing it. More or less,
Mhm.
it's seriously just their floor is simply what is the bare minimum. Let's say across a week or even a day, but I usually do it across a week. You can do to feel proud of yourself, to feel like okay, I did enough, right? And a lot of people unfortunately set these really high barriers for themselves, day after day, week after week, month after month, that kind of keeps them in this thinking of I'm never doing enough, and then that's what causes them to crash and burn, right? So you want to set an amount that you would be happy with, that you are necessarily hitting. You know, you're hitting it each and every week at some capacity, and it makes you just keep going, showing up over and over, right? And then
Mhm.
your ceiling, like you said, is kind of the peak. It's pretty high, right? You set your healing, you see healing ceiling quite high for a reason. Is that you kind of make it so anything in between, you're stoked about, right? You're feeling good, and at the end of the day, it's about being consistent and keeping the momentum up, going week after week, month after month, year after year. So
Mhm.
keeping that ceiling quite high is a good idea, just because it'll keep you mentally in check, week over week, so you don't just crash and burn and think, "Oh, I didn't do enough this week. Screw it. I'm just gonna fall off." Nope, nope.
Hmm.
So it's like that almost out of reach type week, or day per se, but like for a reason, right? For a reason. And then this can work with your day to day. This can work even when you're on vacation. It can be, work trips. You can set
Mhm.
your floor and ceiling in any situation, and really help you manage your expectations to where you aren't, falling off or feeling like crap. You're like, you know what? All right, this is the best I can do during this week. Cool. And so it allows you to just kind of be more present, allows you to not stress about not being perfect all the time. So, how's that? Was that good?
That's so genius and relatable, Jack, because um especially you mentioned about vacation,
Yes.
or when we are going out with friends or family. Um, I have experienced that struggle to find time, let's say, for an hour or half an hour of workout, focused workout, because there are distractions which we cannot avoid.
Mhm.
So, you know, n- I think more than the body, our mind, it falls into a kind of a loop that chuck everything. Okay, fine, I know nothing's going to work out. Okay, uh, let it go. I'll just not do it.
Mhm.
It's very natural, but when you are actually having a consistency, but um, like a very planned, moderate or low intensity, and then a few days high intensity, not only your body but your mind also, kind of, I shouldn't use the word, but gets manipulated in that way.
Mhm.
That's what I believe. I don't know,
Yeah.
but that's
No, it's
very
true,
very.
and I mean, the unfortunate reality is that a lot of people think they need to be perfect, like, 90% of the time or 95% of the time. It's like that's so far from the truth. Like,
Mhm.
the way I like to even tell clients or people that are going through their health journey, I'm like, "Listen, you think your body a year from now is going to remember this 1 week that you were imperfect? No, it's not. It's not, right? As long as you find a way to get back to it, be consistent, right? It's not gonna remember it.
Mhm.
It's not even gonna remember it in a month, 2 months, right? Unless if somehow you went crazy, but, whatever. But, you get the point is that, it gets you kind of out of that thinking of like, "Oh my god, like, I didn't do a good job," or I screwed all my progress up," whatever. Nope, you're fine, you know?
Mhm.
You're totally fine, set that floor and just get through it, So, yeah.
Awesome, awesome. That's awesome, Jack. Okay. Now, before going further,
Yes.
I would love to explore your journey,
Sure.
Jack. I mean, from coming from having experienced the world of sports at a very young age, and then you got into some unhealthy habits. If you can, just give a glimpse of that. I mean, how was the journey like for you, and how did you come to create this floor and ceiling method?
Yeah. So I guess, the spark notes I'll give you is, yeah, I played, 3 sport athlete all the way through up until college, then I played 2 sports in college. It's all I ever really knew. Um which kind of created a monster once I lost it. I got injured in, sophomore year of college. Had to get surgery. I had to get elbow surgery, so it kind of put me out of commission there. And because it's all I knew, is the only sort of structure that was keeping my life together, it kind of just went downhill, unfortunately. And I am someone that, you know, for so long just like couldn't function without being told what to do. I really just had nothing that made me me, at least as I started getting older. So when it did come time where I didn't have any sort of structure, there is alcoholism in my family. I didn't really know. And then I just unfortunately couldn't go a day without it, and managed to put on about 60 pounds in one single year, which is absolutely mind blowing and to me nowadays of like how much weight that truly is. But it was a really, really dark period. Couldn't go a day without it, couldn't go to bed without it. Um, and then, there was a point in time where, I just all of a sudden just looked in the mirror more or less. And one, I kind of looked at like someone that I wasn't necessarily looking up to. I mean, I can even name drop him. He has no issue with it. But my father was a little bit, on the heavier side. He's lost a lot of weight now. He's killed it. So unbelievable for him. But at that point in time, me and him didn't necessarily have the greatest relationship. So when I started like looking at him and I like looking like him and realizing that like what have I become? There's nothing that makes me me. I only knew sports. I only did what people told me to do. I never really had anything that, you know, like that, if someone says, what makes you you, Jack? And I just would name sports and that wasn't enough. There was nothing there. So from there, ended up just really, because I like sports so much or being, movement, I just got really into the gym. I am an engineer or studied mechanical engineering in college, so I really got obsessed with the biomechanics, surrounded around just weight training, everything like that. And I just got so obsessed. And then, just ended up losing about 80 pounds across 2 years. Had to go, I went sober. Um, and then it was just, you know, It was hard because in reality, there'd be weeks where I'd be perfect, there'd be weeks where I wasn't, and there was this, this constant yo-yoing of trying things, going back into old habits, all this stuff. So I realized that I need to figure out a way to just keep showing up, set up a system in my brain that would make it so week after week, not
Mm,
having to be perfect was okay. And so that's kind of where that floor and ceiling method more or less came from. It's not that I necessarily called it then, but it's what eventually once I got into coaching and stuff like that, I actually put a title to it, but that's what I did, where it's like every week I'm like, how do I make sure that I show up every week no matter what? There's gonna be weeks that I'm not perfect and that's okay. I just gotta do something rather than nothing. Hit that floor and then be proud of that and then work from there. Just because, when you are on a weight loss journey, when you are in a really bad place mentally, it can be very
mm,
difficult to show up. It can be very difficult to
yeah,
um, even get yourself out of bed to get to the gym sometimes, not sometimes, like every morning. So, stuff like that, those mental exercises is really what kind of got me through that really, really, really rough period. And
mhm,
then once I kind of lost all the weight, I realized I was arguably going in the wrong direction where I was trying to be too perfect. And so it kinda
mhm,
almost like, oh, I kept hitting the ceiling, but I burned out, right? Burned out, went too over the top, started competing in bodybuilding competitions and all this stuff, and then all of a sudden, from a livelihood standpoint, sustainability standpoint, I was burning out. I was always tired. I was taking things too seriously, couldn't enjoy myself, couldn't be a human being. So then ended up finding my ceiling, right? So I found this part of me that like it was just a little bit too much, and I'm an individual that was trying to do a lot of things outside of just fitness too. I was trying to build a real estate portfolio, I was trying to start businesses and stuff, and so like it was just taking away from that. So then
mm,
that's kind of where both ends of the spectrum more or less got created is like on my floor at the bottom when I was in a really tough place and I just need to find a way to keep showing up each and every week. And then I found my ceiling when I was kind of a little bit too into it, to the point where I was kind of removing, some livelihood that, I do value quite heavily, because I have a drift car, slash race car. I built that, and when all of a sudden I wasn't caring about the things that make me me, because I kind of found my individuality out of losing weight and
mhm,
kind of getting back into hobbies and stuff. When I started to give up the hobbies that made me me again, I was like, okay, yo, I'm falling into this a similar trap as I did when I was even being I was battling alcohol, but just a different look. And so I pulled back, and now, years later, I am just arguably in better shape, healthier shape, than I was then, taking it much more seriously. But obviously have a very, very sustainable approach, can be, enjoy myself. If you follow me on social media, I have a pizza to myself every Friday. I love pizza. So that balance act, right? And hovering in that floor and ceiling every single week. And so that's kinda how I came up with it, and it's a very powerful tool. I will use with clients
mhm,
too, just to kinda keep them grounded, and keep them in the right headspace to keep moving forward because it is very hard, when you are battling the mind,
yeah.
that's for sure. So, but yeah, that's it. Mhm.
That's it, yeah. That's it.
That's it. I know, that's always how I end my combos. I'm like, "So yeah, that was it." I'm like, "I know that I just dropped a bomb, but that's"
I mean, um, I, I'm really blown away because there's so many. I mean, phases here. Battling addiction, battling your loss of identity. Um, it must have been really, really tough.
Yeah.
Really tough. I can really, really appreciate that you very candidly shared because a lot of us we still shy away from sharing our lows and what exactly has been going on with us, especially mentally.
Mhm.
um and then in weight loss, I think, yeah, as I mentioned in the beginning, more than the body, it's really there a battle with your mind.
Mhm.
Such sometimes becomes so tough, and we become so hard on ourselves, and that's where we kind of lose that patience and that consistency, and it all goes in vain. So I think it's a very huge inspiration for all of us, irrespective of whatever battles we are fighting or um, whatever changes we are wanting to bring in our lives, whether it's mentally or physically. Such an inspiration, Jack.
Of course.
Uh,
I do want to highlight one quick thing. I think,
yeah.
you mentioned, being very open and candid about sharing my story.
Mhm.
And the second I was No, I think that's what happens is you when you go quiet and you're not open to telling your story and then wearing it on your sleeve, you're almost in a way in denial. And I realized that
Mhm.
myself. So I started just being open about it and I felt so much better because I'm not
Mhm.
like living a lie. No, I'm like, this is where I was at. This is what I went through and here I am, and it just allows me to open up more with clients, open up with friends and everything now just because it's like I'm being my true self and I have to, but in order to be my true self now, I have to come to terms with where I was, and not be afraid to talk about it. That's what's helped me a lot as an individual, as a coach, as a friend, partner, all that. So, yeah,
That's beautiful, Jack. That's beautiful. Oh, wow. Okay. Now, um, let's talk about the mindset shift. So
right,
you have actually built a business around helping people start and never stop. So
correct.
what's the first mindset shift someone needs before they even think about a workout plan? Let's say we get so many ads and all those motivational resources that 60 days, 90 days, a 90-minute workout and blah blah blah, this diet, that diet.
Don't get me started.
So
um,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, it's bad. It's bad out there right now, with all the quick fixes and the fads. That's for sure.
That is true. That is true. Yeah. So yeah, let me. I'll just repeat the question. So,
Yeah.
um, what's the first mindset shift? You believe someone needs before they even think about a workout plan.
Hmm. It's a little bit tough, I guess, from, when I do begin with someone, I have to really come to where they're at first. So like know their previous experience of, whether they've, fallen off over and over again. And most of the time people come to me when they're at that point where it's like, yeah, I'm sick of falling off. I'm sick of going grinding for months on end. And then one thing happens in my life and whatever. So I think the mindset shift that people need to have is you need to do less, which I think a lot of people quickly assume is like less is not good enough. But if you can do less inevitably and never stop, you're gonna get further than doing more, but then burn out in a couple months, right? Um,
Mm,
so coming to terms that it's okay to do less, so you can allow yourself to maybe be a human being a bit or just have a life, because you got to remember this is more of a lifestyle shift rather than just some phase. You can't treat it like it's a phase, right? So that's probably the number one thing is that you probably should be doing less than you think you need to be doing, to ensure that you actually don't fall off this time. Because clearly, what you were doing before, where you try for 5 days a week, 4 times a week, for hours in the gym, sacrificing time with family, sacrificing time with friends, whatever, clearly doesn't work because inevitably at some point you are cracking. So maybe less is the solution, right? So that's probably
mm,
the number one thing. And then we kind of after that, more or less, is moved to more of an identity thing, to where it's like you need to be living this lifestyle, whether you feel like it or not, right? This is a new version of you. This is someone that you just are now. It's not an on-off switch that you decide to turn off when you're on vacation, when you're eating, when you're out with friends. It's like you're kind of always consciously thinking of it. Um, so that's where it gets difficult for some people. Is like they try to hold on to old habits. They try to hold on to these different things that were kind of holding them back. So
mhm,
first, do less. Then second, like what would the future healthier version of you be doing in this moment in time? If they would say
mhm,
no to that thing, if they would maybe not have 5 drinks and only have one, if they would have 2 slices instead of the whole pie, you know, like then
mhm,
do that, right? Think like what would they be doing? Cool. That should be what you're doing right now. Like become that version of you. Right. So that's kind of I would say two things, mainly the big mindset shifts that we drive people through out the gate, which is quite a heavy lift very quickly. But yeah, that's what we do. So
Mm. I really like one point that you mentioned. It's not a phase; it is a full lifestyle shift. So
mhm,
I think that's something that we need to acknowledge first before even considering to think about creating a workout plan.
correct.
Um, and specifically about the ceiling part, sorry, the floor part.
Yeah.
Now, um, you know, do you ever find that people would use the floor as an excuse to underperform or maybe cut them some slack?
Hmm. I guess that's a good question. That's a good question. I haven't
Mhm,
actually had that happen before because the floor is likely still a little bit more than what you're doing currently. To the point where, most people that come to me aren't even going for walks. Right? They're not
mhm,
going, even, exercising once a week. So that floor is kind of that non-negotiable. This is what I hit, regardless of what I feel like doing. So it's like, okay, I
mhm,
go for daily walks, or I go for one or two workouts a week, or one workout a week, or a body weight thing, or just doing something rather than nothing. That's your floor, right? Which inevitably, if you're starting from zero, right, or very
mhm,
little, doing a little bit more is plenty to keep the ball rolling and keep the momentum going because it's still in your life, right? Um,
mhm,
so I guess that's where I really haven't run into an issue where people are like using that as an excuse, more or less, just because it's still more than what they were doing before. So it's like it's still some commitment, but I'm not asking for much. It's like, oh, give me
mhm.
20 minutes of your day to go for a walk, please. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Very minimal stuff to get them the ball rolling is what we kind of shoot for that floor. But like I said, yeah, well, repeat it one more time. It's more than before, right? That's the goal. Slightly more than before. So, yeah.
That is actually really positive, isn't it, Jack?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I don't. Welcome to me. That's what I do.
Um, and I think we have discussed about this, but you have said, when you were sharing your story, I think one thing our listeners will definitely realize that health isn't just physical; it is mental and emotional too. So, how do you personally keep your passion for fitness alive year after year?
That's the one of the age old questions that people always ask, like, how do you keep doing the thing? So
Yeah.
first off, I think it's important to develop a baseline, right? Where you
Mm,
just do it. So like for me, like I'm still going to the gym, 4 or 5 times a week, more or less, or sometimes 3, depends what I'm doing. But then I indulge in other things in movement, right? Because at the end of the day, movement is medicine, and everyone's heard that. But it's
yeah.
pretty wild how much longer your quality of life can be when you're just moving in some fashion. So, like, I developed my baseline on my non-negotiable, more or less, like a mental non-negotiable that, like, this is just what I do now, right? Always. Um, but then I allow myself to go into other endeavors and not feel guilty about it. Because I'm very happy with where I'm at. You're going to get to a point where you become pretty more. I mean, I guess this is more the mental side, but I'm very happy with where I'm at, and you want to work to being loving yourself where you're at, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very stoked about that. So it's like I don't have this crazy urge to get like way more muscular or whatever than where I'm at. Like, sure, it might slowly come, whatever. But I love movement. I love doing things with my body, and so the goal is just to kind of still have activity and movement in my life. It just might look different, And I think a lot of people get trapped in the mindset of like, oh, I need to be just weightlifting for the rest of my life. I'm like, I think weightlifting needs to be somewhere, right? But it's not
Mm,
everything, right? If you want to start doing
mm,
pickleball more, or if that's something you're just super passionate about, awesome. You want to get into running, awesome. If you want to, just go rock climbing, if you want to be someone that avidly hikes, like it doesn't matter. The goal is just
mm,
to
mm,
keep showing up because like we kind of lean into the whole thing. It's like start, never stop. So it's like things
mm,
you might pivot. slightly, a little bit, but that's okay, right? Pivoting is not stopping. Your focus might shift. You might be going through maybe another phase of life where it's quite busy and you have to pivot, right? Oh, hey, I can't work out that many times a week, but I can still work out once, then maybe do some pickleball, do a workout class. That's totally fair play. Um, but yeah, I would say that it's just like like me being able to pivot and being open to other things is really what's kept me going. And I'm not like allowing myself to just get complacent because complacency and being comfortable is where you eventually do more or less get bored. And I try never to be bored. I want to keep moving in some way. Right. So, like, for example, recently I've been getting more into calisthenics and extreme mobility training, and stuff along those lines, rather than just focusing so heavily on bodybuilding or powerlifting or whatever. Because like I want to be, not gonna lie, I want to be a guy that like never has to worry about, any side of kind of pain. I love,
Mm.
I want to be able to do a split at some point. Like, it sounds crazy, but I do. And so that's going to take a different approach, and I can't be doing just bodybuilding style movements on top of that too. So it's like I'm pivoting temporarily because I want to do this thing, right? So yeah, sorry, a little bit off tangent there, but you get the point.
Absolutely. And once again, another great one-liner, pivoting is not stopping. That's
Yep.
a great one-liner. Super, super, Jack. So if our listeners they would like to connect with you and explore more about the work that you're doing, of course, the floor and the ceiling method, what would be the best way?
Yeah, I mean, very active on Instagram. That's where I kind of house everything. So at Sorenson Fit, Sorenson Fit. And if you want to get in contact with me directly, never a bad idea to DM me, or you can, shoot me an email, Jack at SorensonFitness.com. Would love to chat.
Super, super. I'll make sure to have all the links in the show notes. And I think if there's one thing that today's conversation proves, it's that health isn't about hitting one peak moment. It is about building a track we can keep running on for life. So, thank you so much, Jack, for this such a refreshing and energetic conversation, for sharing your story and for giving us some inspiration to have sustainability in health and fitness. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was great.
Super. And to all the listeners out there, whether you are starting fresh or starting over, you don't need a perfect day to make progress. You just need your next small, doable step and the belief that momentum you build will carry you forward. Thank you to everyone for joining me and my guest today on Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. Keep showing up, keep moving forward, and most importantly, keep living a life that feels good to be in. Thank you.